Welcome back, future secondary educators at SUNY Geneseo. Time for us to remember some things from Math 239 that really matter. There are things that we gloss over with teenagers, but we really can't gloss over because they matter. So let's play. We're going to let f be a function from a to b. It's going to be a function. We say that f is an injection if, and then there's three different ways to call f an injection. Given any A1 and A2 in set A, if A1 is not A2, then f of A1 is not f of A2. Or, given any A1 and A2 in A, if f of A1 equals f of A2, then A1 equals A2. Or, given any B in B, the pre-image of the set containing B contains at most one element. Now, if you haven't considered why each of those say the same thing, you should. You should hit the pause button and you should ask yourself, why are those definitions the same? Hopefully you said something to yourself like, these are contrapositives of each other, so that's fine. And this means that there's only one element that maps to B, and that's what this says. There's only one element that maps to B. Likewise, let f be a function from A to B. We say that f is a surjection if. And then there's two ways to justify that. Given any B in set B, there exists at least one A in set A such that f of A is B. Or, given any B in set B, the preimage of the set B, set containing B, contains at least one element. And again, it's a good time to pause. Or make a third way. The image of the set A is the set B. Now, if you haven't played with this definition for a while, it's a good idea to make sure, why is this the same as this? Why is this the same as this? Okay, so to be clear, injections are what we call one-to-one. Injections pass the horizontal line test. And that's really all that this says here. A function that passes the horizontal line test is such that if f of A1 equals f of A2, then A1 equals A2. If A1 is different than A2, then the images are different. Functions that fail the horizontal line test, well, what does the horizontal line test do? The horizontal line test says, here's an A1 and here's an A2 where f of A1 is f of A2. So functions like this fail the horizontal line test. They are not one-to-one. They are not injections. Functions like these are what we call onto. They're onto because the function maps completely onto set B. Whatever you decide is the codomain of function f, every single element in that codomain gets mapped to by something. So why do we care about injections and surjections? Well, we don't really. We care about bijections, and bijections are injective and surjective. They are one-to-one and they are onto. So they are functions that pass the horizontal line test and also run the entire possible codomain. So they pass the vertical line test because they're functions, they pass the horizontal line test because they're injections, and they run the entire length of the codomain, whatever the codomain happens to be for your particular scenario. That's why we care. And we care about bijections because the inverse of a bijection is also a function. That's why we harp on this right around the same time in Algebra 2, where we start talking about inverse functions. When we teach inverse functions to teenagers, uh, we subtly assume that our function is a bijection. So there's usually that piece where we do like 45 minutes on what injections and surjections are, what it means to be one-to-one, what it means to be onto, and we say, look, there's going to be a multiple choice question about this on the state exam, and you probably ought to know it. But really, we want them to know it because of this, and we want them to know this because we want them to be able to talk about the inverse function. This is the inverse function. We want them to be able to talk about that intelligently, and the only way they can talk about it intelligently is if they know about bijections. So thanks for letting me harp on this a little while. It's important for us to know what onto is. It's important for us to know what one-to-one means because it's really important for us to get this right. And so I want to make sure that we do that. Some of what we do in class is going to piggyback directly from this. Fingers crossed that it goes well when we get there. I cannot wait to see you when we do.